Well, this is obviously a very interesting picture right here. Right then. Hi everyone, it's Pocket. Basically, this video is a follow-up to the body reviews I did of the two dolls I have here right in front of me, which are the Dollshe Saint to my left and the Feeple65, Fairyland Feeple65 Rogue to my right. Someone requested a while ago that I do a comparison between the Dollshe Saint and the Feeple65 male body. Both of these dolls have very recently been restrung. Their posability is in pristine condition to be reviewed, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Sorry for everything around this video, and I know it doesn't look that great, but I'm doing my best with what I have. Remember that this comparison video, however neutral I try to present it, it will always be my point of view. Because, you know, it's me and I'm handling the dolls and it's my perspective of this comparison that I'm trying to show. And I might try and be as objective as possible, but still, it's still just my perspective of the comparison, and that obviously influences the way I handle the dolls and the way I feel about each doll. So just bear that in mind when you watch this video. The Dollshe Saint is in Oriental skin and the Feeple65 Rogue is in normal skin. Obviously Fairyland doesn't have as many different skin options as Dollshe has, but I'm okay with that. And right off the bat you can see that these two dolls, obviously they vary in height. Here are their actual sizes in centimeters. The Feeple65 Rogue has much broader shoulders, and his chest and in general his aesthetic is much more muscly. The Dollshe Saint has its own aesthetic in that he's very slim but still very defined and lean. His muscles are more flat, and the Feeple65 Rogues, his are more rounded and they protrude a lot more than you probably see here on camera. Here you can see again a close-up of their torso joints. A good thing about the Feeple65 body is that I can really say that it poses wonderfully. I don't need to go into that. You can go check out my review on it. And you can see that it has two separate torso joints, one there, and the Dollshe Saint just has one torso joint in the middle, as per usual. I think the Dollshe Saint is a great sitter. I think that the absence of the bottom joint doesn't really do much. If you've seen my latest video, you'll know that he's not that untalented in that department. So in their knees and elbows, they both have double joints, meaning they can bend their knees pretty well, both of them. I must say though, they both have the same issue in that their legs are so darn heavy that they can not hold up their legs on their own. It's almost nearly impossible to put it that way. In the lower trunk region, you can see that the Feeple65 right over here has these two extra mobility joints, as well as these two caps to keep the mobility joints in place. I think this helps greatly with standing, whereas the Dollshe Saint just kind of, in general, all of his joints just kind of swivel in their sockets, which is maybe not the best thing due to his size and weight, but let me just get into that right now. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that the Dollshe Saint, for all his beauty and aesthetics, I've seen both dolls taken apart now, so I can make this judgment for myself, and everyone can do that for themselves. I'm not saying this is, you know, this is it, but everyone has their opinion on this. But in my opinion, compared to the Fairyland engineering, the Dollshe engineering falls flat by a mile more, almost, because when I look at the joints of the Dollshe Saint, for example the elbow joints, the fact that they could be put back together in any direction really made me worry a bit that I was, you know, assembling him somehow wrong, but it doesn't really matter which way you pop those elbows back in. They fit regardless, which is a bit weird, but that's just the way it is. Also, the absence of S-hooks makes him a pain to restring. Oh my gosh. It was a real logical challenge to put him back together, and I think, you know, Dollshe probably made it easy for themselves, you know, through the manufacturing. As one can see inside the joints, they just drilled a hole right through instead of like carving out the inside of the joints, because that's the way Fairyland did it with their dolls, and it also makes it a lot easier to handle them because they become lighter that way. The person that owns the BJD, it becomes quite a challenge, you know, if when it comes to stuff like maintenance, like restringing, you know, cleaning, that kind of thing. So he's not the most, he's not the easiest doll to own as a BJD, and I can understand why some people have let their Dollshes go, especially in this range, in this size range, which is discontinued now, obviously. But he's just hard to handle in a way that the Fairyland doll isn't. So, I mean, aesthetically, you can make your own judgment. I'm not going to point out every single difference, especially since, you know, they have discontinued this body and are probably going to update it at some point, and it's probably going to be even better than it is now. At least that's what we all hope for, because that's what you usually expect when a company takes a product back. They want to improve it, which they will, I'm sure. So no disregard intended. I'm just trying to point out that for someone, in case someone wants to buy the one or the other, that is definitely something to keep in mind, that the engineering is very different and the handling is very, very different as well. I hope that this would help anyone who is trying to imagine what it would be like to handle one of these dolls, to decide which one is the better one, or in general just to get a good idea of what the handling is like with these dolls. So give me a moment. The good thing is, now that they're both restrung, they're definitely a lot stiffer in standing, which helps a lot, especially with the Feeple65 Rogue. He used to have a lot of problems with his upper torso joint. It used to flop back a lot, and it doesn't do that now anymore. It's really nice and stiff, and it stays where it's supposed to be. So I'm really grateful for that. Now with the Dollshe body, it's always a bit tricky because he's a lot more floppy. Just because, even though he's restrung, he is still floppy in his legs, just because of his weight and the size of the length and the proportions of his body. It's just the way it is. So I've got to be careful. I can't really predict him so well as I can with the Feeple65 Rogue, even though he is gorgeous, I must say. I love that you can just like grab him in his torso and nothing will move, which with the Feeple65, even with his new stringing, sometimes it's, you know, still something will kind of, you know, not nudge out of place. He's really very stiff and streamlined. As you can see, both of these dolls have a faceplate system with a head back instead of a head cap. With dolls this size, a lot comes down to balancing. I mean, there's only so much posability can do. Right, that's the view from the back. Very nice. Now you can really see the difference in the knee joints. You can see the Dollshe body has a more traditional double joint here, whereas the Fairyland body's got one little extra gimmick here. It's this little cap that slides on top of the knee joint, much like the ones over here with the mobility joint. This one just sits on top and just makes sure that it doesn't flop around, whereas with him the whole thing can just go in the socket, so that's a bit more jiggly, that one. Here again, the elbows from the back. The Saint has got little knobs on his elbows, and again, I tried them both ways and they seem to fit both ways. So if anyone knows which way around they're actually supposed to go, you can help me out here because I don't know. They fit either way around, which is a bit, I don't know, not disturbing to me, but a bit weird, because usually I'm used to parts fitting exactly as they were meant to fit. So this was just a bit odd to experience. And you see with the Feeple65 Rogue, his elbow joints, to be fair, are not really very aesthetic. I also find his back to be a bit too boof. I like the way the Dollshe is very, you know, very straight and flat, and it's all very smooth. I love the resin on the Dollshe body. I love the feel of it. It's beautifully finished. It's really great quality resin. When I review a large doll, I feel like I say this every single time. The size really is a restriction. The size and weight is a restriction, and getting a large doll to pose naturally is already an accomplishment. I have the greatest respect for artists, BJD collectors who collect Eiffel House dolls and get them to do things that are just, you know, that I thought were out of their range. And because I have owned 2 Eiffel House dolls and EIDs, male and female, and to me they never worked. I'm just one person. I'm just one kind of collector. And I can just show you the way I handle the dolls, the way I am used to it. Please let me know in the comments down below if you felt this comparison was helpful, if you felt that my approach was good, or if you think that it needs work for future comparisons, because that's one thing I always enjoy about YouTube is sharing information between doll collectors, and comparisons and reviews regarding dolls and their bodies is something I like doing a lot. So please leave me some constructive insight down below. That would be really, really much appreciated. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a happy dolly day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!